A group of idiot-looking soldiers faces a big ugly monster who slowly catwalks towards them. At the same time, a paladin warrior watches the monster and he tells his partner about the legend of Ars, according to which God created a bunch of ugly monsters to destroy the world. His partner asks him to spill some more details, and just then, the soldiers throw a huge arrow at the monster to stop him. The monster brushes aside the huge arrow and continues to stride towards the soldier, so the paladin warrior decides to step in. His partner reminds him that they have not been hired officially by the government to take on the monster, but the warrior still jumps in the battlefield. He freezes the monster with the help of his magic, and the warriors start celebrating when they realize that a paladin warrior has arrived. The monster breaks free of the frozen ice on his body, and the warrior rushes towards him to launch his attack. 30 years later, a prisoner supervisor scolds his worker for slacking off on his duty, and he comments how they have been tasked with a difficult prisoner. Just then, somebody bursts out of the prison door and a small girl runs away from the guards. She rushes through the kitchen where she steals some food, and the guards plus the cook chase the chick throughout the prison. She ends up at the roof while the prison supervisor reports to somebody that the prototype has escaped. The guards tell the escaped prisoner to return to her room, and she jumps into the water to escape from them. Soon, she swims over to a boat where she comes across a drunken guy, and after greeting him, she rushes into the streets. The guards soon come to ask the drunken guy about the escaped girl, and he points them in the direction of the city. In the meanwhile, the girl runs through the streets and rushes into a fat lady. She gives a coin to the fat lady to compensate for her damaged flowers, and when the lady notices her dirty clothes, she asks her to come with her. The fat lady named Cumi drags her into an alleyway while the guards try to find the escaped girl. At the same time, the prison supervisor reports to his captain Mizami that they are still searching for the prototype number 22, and he orders them to find the girl by any force. When the guards leave, he eats a sus-looking candy and laughs like a cheap novella villain. Cumi puts some decent clothes on the escaped prisoner, after which the girl leaves her to wander into the streets. The next morning, the drunken guy named Jiro wanders through the market, and a shop vendor tells him that a lot of fighters are gathering at the eastern gate to take on a monster, so he should join them to get some kind of reward. He walks towards the eastern gate while the shop vendor called Maya sets up some items for his shop. Just then, the escaped girl notices a shiny looking gem in Maya's shop, and she asks her about it, so Maya tells her that the gems have been extracted from bodies of monsters and that the town thrives on the hunters who kill such monsters, while traders extract oils and gems from the bodies of the monsters afterwards. The escaped girl notices a ring on Maya's cat, so she asks her about the ring, and Maya tells her that the ring is called Ring of Promise, and according to the legend, only the savior of Ars will wear the ring and save everyone. Maya warns her that the ring is also cursed since it drains the powers of the person who wears it, and suddenly the ring fits itself on the girl's finger. Maya doesn't find it strange, and instead she offers the girl a bargain to buy the ring. At the eastern wall, a number of fighters have their names written down, and some guys tease Jiro about his dry personality. At the Emperor's palace, a chick named Tsurugi tells the court that there are a lot of giant beasts this year appearing recently throughout the kingdoms, so they shouldn't start fighting with other kingdoms or groups, but nobody listens to her since the woman only knows how to whine. At the eastern wall, the fighters spot a giant beast called Whopper and lure him to the wall where they plan to carpet bomb him. The beast manages to hit one of the guys, so Jiro jumps into action, and he manages to save the guy by carrying him above the wall. The other fighters and guards then all attack the beast and kill it. Jiro tells the fighters that the injured guy's leg has been busted, and at the same time an Emperor's elite notices him. Later, all the fighters gather in a bar to celebrate their victory, and they also cheer for Jiro, who saved the injured guy named Alam. Afterwards, when everyone is wasted, the elite approaches Jiro and tells him that there's going to be a war soon which is going to split Ars into two fractions, and that they need fighters like him, but Jiro the Sigma refuses his offer to join. Later, the guards spot the escaped prisoner, and they rush after her. They corner her at the port where they shoot arrows at her, and at the same time a giant beast approaches the city walls. The girl emits some black shadows which harm the soldiers, and she warns the soldiers to run away. They still keep attacking her, due to which she starts to go berserk. Meanwhile, Jiro notices that a giant monster has breached the city wall, and that the escaped girl is going berserk. He recalls his partner from the past, so he runs towards the girl and jumps into the river with her. He then asks her through magic why a cleric like her doesn't have a paladin escort with her. The escaped girl tells Jiro that her name is Cumi, and Jiro calls out to his sword. He then makes up some Harry Potter level sorcery which makes him merge with Cumi. The monster barges into the town and runs after the people, so Jiro decides to stop him. Cumi, who is still inside Jiro's mind, asks him how she has merged with him, so he tells that he will spill all the details later. He rushes at the headless beast and tries to take him on with his sword. The beast even conjures up his head and Jiro keeps trying to break his tough skin, but he fails. He wonders whether the beast has any kind of weakness and Cumi advises him to strike at his eye. Jiro thinks about how clerics have a sixth sense, so he strikes the beast's eye, due to which the beast collapses down. Suddenly Cumi also emerges from Jiro's body to look at the fallen beast and Jiro falls unconscious. Cumi starts panicking, but Maya appears out of nowhere and tells Cumi that she knows a place to treat injured people. The next morning, Captain Nozomi arrives at the port and he comes to a conclusion that Cumi must have summoned the beast into the town through her powers. He again gives an order to his subordinates to find her, and when they inform him that a paladin has taken her away, he tells them to find the paladin since he believes that the paladin must be injured. Meanwhile, Cumi and Maya look for supplies in the market and Maya reminds Cumi that she has to keep a low profile since the guards are still looking for her. A bunch of fighters perform a ritual on the fallen beast since they are retarded and believe that the beast is sacred somehow. The guards discuss that they have never seen such a large beast and that they are unable to find the paladin. In the past 5 years ago, Jiro tries to wake up his injured cleric Toka while a number of beasts lurk close to him. His teammate tells him to abandon Toka since they can find clerics anywhere, but he doesn't let her go and soon the ugly beasts unleash their attack. Jiro wakes up in the present and he overhears Maya telling Cumi that Jiro has committed to marry her by forming a covenant with her. Jiro instantly rushes out to explain himself and he tells Cumi that clerics are powerful creatures whose powers can get out of control, and that paladin like himself are used to channel the powers of clerics. He tells Maya that he had to form a covenant with Cumi in an emergency, and he also tells Cumi to find some other paladin before walking away from them. Old Lady Cumi discusses with someone that the large beast that appeared had an eye that is pretty rare, and that the old legend must be resurfacing, while he comments that such things need to be reported to the upper echelon. Maya tells Cumi that Jiro has left behind his dagger, which is bound to make him come back, and they both walk over to a local pub where the townsfolk celebrate after getting gems from the body of the fallen beast. Cumi comes across Old Lady Cumi at the pub and Old Cumi comments to Maya that it's unusual to see shepos like her around. Suddenly, the official guards show up to search for Cumi, and the local people start arguing with them. Cumi hides under the table to get away from them, but the guards notice her and approach her. Old Cumi also realizes that Cumi is actually a cleric, so she stops the guards from approaching Cumi. The guards try to walk past her, so Cumi steps between them to stop any fight from breaking out. Just then she touches one of the guards, who suddenly turn into dust. Maya approaches Cumi from behind and hits her hard with Jiro's spear, due to which she falls unconscious. She offers Cumi to the guards, so the guards carry Cumi away, and they even take Maya with them since she was with Cumi all along. Old Cumi notices the familiar blade in Maya's hand. Meanwhile, Jiro also realizes that his blade is missing. The guards keep Cumi and Maya in a ship for a while, and Cumi apologizes to Maya for dragging her with her. Just then Jiro tries to summon his blade back to him, due to which his blade starts hovering in the air, but Maya holds onto it tightly and doesn't let it go. Jiro thinks that his blade may be stuck somewhere, so he rushes to Maya's hideout to look for her. He doesn't find her there, so he looks for both of them in the town. He comes across Old Cumi, who tells him that the girls were taken by the Imperial forces. Old Cumi then tells him to eat a strange berry which is eaten by fighters who bear power to replenish their powers, and this makes Jiro realize that she knows that he is a paladin. He eats the berry and Cumi tells her that the girl is a cleric made in the lab. Jiro then heads out to look for Cumi again. He reaches the prisoner ship, and after forcing a guard to spill the details about the captured prisoners, he somehow makes his way to the girls. He manages to find them, and after retrieving his dagger from Maya, they all run outside. The guards rush at him to stop him, so he grabs the girls and jumps into the water. With the help of his blade, he swims underwater, and in the meanwhile the Imperial forces launch naval forces to find them. Jiro and the girl find one of the Imperial ships and hijack it. Jiro then merges with Cumi again to become a Power Ranger, and both of them attack the Imperial ships to sink them. Later, Jiro tells the girls that he is only sticking with them till they arrive at the next city. At the wrecked Imperial ship, two guards named Goon and Kiris discuss that their career is probably over since they let Cumi escape and also ended up destroying the ship. To their surprise, Captain Nozomi tells them that they are going to the laboratory with him rather than chasing after Cumi, and after ordering them around, he eats the sus-looking candy again. Jiro and the girls wander through the forest in their ship, and Cumi asks Jiro about the raining clouds, which again makes him wonder whether she was actually kept in the lab. They come across a deep ravine which is filled with water due to the rain, and Maya tells the others that they cannot cross the place till it stops raining. They all decide to wait for the rain to stop, and in the meanwhile, Maya takes them to a nearby village since they don't have any food supplies with them. Maya then tells another cat creature from the village about their ongoing condition, and she tells the villagers that Jiro can pay them back with his skills if they give them food and a place to stay overnight. The villagers agree, and some kids rush over to Cumi and Jiro. The kids start pushing Jiro around, so he yells at them, which scares them off. Cumi starts playing with them instead, and the kids teach her how to play jumping rope. She gets scared to join them, and she notices another kid at a distance who is also not joining the kids. Mizami's ship heads to the laboratory, in which the guards discuss that the aquatic beasts do not attack humans, and they wonder why terrestrial beasts attack them. They also wonder why Mizami is not chasing after Cumi. At the village, Jiro asks Maya what her deal with the fellow cat creature is, but she refuses to spill any information. They all eat the delicious food given to them by the villagers, and Jiro wonders whether he will have to fight a beast to compensate the villagers. Another villager, Deagle, warns Jiro that he shouldn't think of taking the beasts on since the beasts have recently become very dangerous. A villager boy rushes up to Deagle and begs him to let him become his apprentice, so Deagle reluctantly agrees to teach him some swordsmanship. Cumi wonders whether Jiro is stronger than Deagle, and later she comes across the villager kid who is not mixing in with anybody. The village kid accidentally falls down from a tree, but the apprentice kid named Marin arrives and catches her. Cumi then gives first aid to the kid, and the kid runs away after thanking her. Marin tells Cumi that all the kids in their village are raised by the whole village together, and that he wants to grow really strong to become a paladin so that he can protect the village from giant beasts. Cumi finds his ambitions really commendable, and the kid called Tilly runs back to Cumi to show her an insect that she caught. Later, Maya asks Jiro whether he is fine with Deagle and the other villagers fighting the beasts on their own, and he explains to her that he doesn't want to reveal that he has a cleric with him to the villagers. In the meanwhile, Deagle and some villagers take on a giant beast and beat him easily. Just then, another similar beast with red eyes appears on the site. At the village, Marin discovers that Tilly is missing, so he decides to search for her. Deagle and other fighters appear and warn the villagers that a red-eyed beast is coming towards the villagers and that they failed to stop him. Cumi tells the chief about Tilly too, but just then Tilly appears and gives Marin's sword to Cumi. She comments that Cumi seemed sad when she was with Marin, so she wanted to give her Marin's sword. The chief scolds her to give Marin's sword back to him, and he also tells Cumi that Tilly has a special power which allows her to sense people's feelings around her. They all decide to search for Marin, who has gone to the forest to search for Tilly, and meanwhile the giant beast runs after Marin in the forest. Jiro and the girls also search for Marin, and Jiro reminds the girls that Imperial forces will come after them if they use the cleric's power. The ugly monster keeps chasing Marin, and just when he is about to attack him, Jiro blocks his attack. The monster goes berserk, and Jiro realizes that he cannot defeat him without using Cumi's powers. They both merge once again, and Jiro attacks the beast again with more power. He dodges all of the beast's attacks and hits him in the eye, which defeats the beast. Jiro then warns Marin not to tell anyone about them, and he walks away with Cumi. Deagle and the others arrive, and when they ask Marin about the defeated beast, Marin doesn't tell them anything. Deagle imagines that Jiro must have helped him out, so he reminds Marin that he has to pay Jiro back somehow. Jiro's group arrives at the ravine, which is still overflowing with water, and they realize that they still cannot cross over. Marin runs over to them, and he begs Jiro to let him help him till he agrees. Marin then takes the gang back to the village where everyone else welcomes them. A report gets sent to the palace that red-eyed beasts have been spotted. A chick wanders around the forest, and when she notices a village at a distance, she hides her head with her hoodie. At the village, Jiro plays a gambling game with Deagle and wins it. In the meanwhile, the girls hang out while Cumi eats food like a certified glutton. Maya reminds her that their bill is rising the more she keeps eating food. Jiro tells them both to eat as much as they want, and he tells them that his gambling luck is the same just like before, and that he can pay with his gambling money now. Just then, the same sus old lady from the forest arrives at the pub, and Cumi rushes to her side to help the villagers out somehow. The lady introduces herself as Romana, and noticing Jiro, she walks up to him and asks him to teach her how to gamble. Jiro thinks she is a rookie, so he asks her to place a bet with whatever money she has available. She agrees, and they both start playing gambling games in which she keeps winning. She soon wins all of his money, and Maya warns Jiro that he will lose all of his money if he doesn't stop betting. He reveals that he has already lost all of his money, and using his last coin he requests Romana to play with him for the last time. Romana refuses his request. Instead, she asks him to wager Cumi instead of money. Jiro refuses and instantly summons his blade to him. He places the blade as a wager and Romana realizes that Jiro may not be a bad guy after all. Later she tells Jiro that she was thinking he was a slave trader who wanted to sell Cumi, due to which she was playing games with him. He asks her to give his blade back to him, but the greedy chick argues that she has won the blade fair and square. She advises him to give up fighting since he can live longer as a normal person, even though nobody asked her for any advice. Soon the village chief tells the gang that the village is about to be flooded due to the endless rains and that they need their help to carry some luggage to the evacuation center, which is at the top of the hill. Jiro advises them to build some sandbags to block the flood, but the chief explains that they want to save the lives of the people rather than focusing on their homes, which can be rebuilt later. Jiro and the gang help the villagers carry their belongings to the hill with the help of their ship, and the villagers all evacuate the village to get away from the flood. Deagle and Marin also patrol the area, and they notice that some of the locals are running away from the flood, which is catching up to them. Deagle tells the locals to run to the shelter while he stays behind. Suddenly a giant whale-like fat beast emerges from the water and attacks Deagle. Deagle tries to fend himself, but the beast disappears into the ground and attacks Deagle again. It breaks Deagle's sword and disappears into the ground again. Marin carries Deagle into the shelter where the others tend to his injuries, and he tells Jiro about the beast who can move through the mud. Jiro decides to take on the beast by himself, and Deagle requests him to take Marin with him since he believes Marin can prove to be useful to him. Jiro reluctantly agrees and they all begin to leave. Romana gives back Jiro's spear to him for his little adventure and tells him that she is only lending his spear to him. She asks Cumi why she is going with Jiro, and instead she asks her to help her out with some medicines. Cumi stays behind while Jiro and the gang head out to tackle the ugly beast. They spot a whirlpool and Jiro thrusts his blade into the whirlpool till the blade hits the beast. Meanwhile, Cumi helps Romana out and she tells Deagle that her parents have been gone since her birth. Jiro's gang pulls the beast towards the river, and Jiro explains to Marin that the aquatic beast only needs to return to the river to calm down since aquatic beasts don't attack humans normally. Suddenly the beast's eyes turn red and it attacks Jiro. Cumi's ring starts to glow and Romana explains to her that paladins usually abuse their clerics to the point of draining them of their powers. Cumi instantly defends Jiro that he isn't such a typical paladin, and her big brain realizes that she has accidentally spilled the beans about Jiro being a paladin. Romana tells her that she and Deagle have already figured out Jiro's identity, and she comments that she can also sense the smell of a strange chemical from Cumi's body. Just then Deagle starts to fake act that his body is hurting, and he urges Cumi to run to Maya to get a potion for him. Cumi runs away to the battle site where Jiro is struggling to fight with the beast. He and Cumi merge once again, and Jiro thinks about how he needs to act fast. He attacks the hill above the beast, due to which some landsliding rocks fall on the beast. Jiro then attacks its eye with his blade, which kills the fat ugly beast. Cumi emerges from Jiro's body, and suddenly Romana also arrives at the site. She warns Jiro that he is not regulating his core powers properly, due to which he is draining Cumi too, and he tells her to mind her own business. Afterwards the villagers thank the gang for their help and the gang gets ready to depart. Romana also decides to travel with them. Marin also joins their gang on Deagle's request, and Jiro and Romana argue about how he is still in her debt. He summons his blade, which was still in Romana's custody, and they keep arguing like an old couple. A noble person tells a lowly chick that the number 22 cleric has been pretty unstable recently. Nazami's guard Kiris and Goon walk through the laboratory, which is filled with clerics girls, and Kiris gets spooked out while Goon walks casually since he is used to it. They both discuss how they have been cooped inside since they have gotten reassigned, and Goon teases Kiris that he should try to apply for Mazami's special forces to get a higher salary. He then tells him that Mazami's special forces all end up becoming druggies who even forget about their wives, and they both continue to discuss what the point of all these clerics' experiments even is. Cumi tells everyone about how she escaped the prison, and Romana fusses over her like a little child. They discuss that the Ring of Promise was made by a group called Forestians who passed down such antiques through their generations, and they decide to go to the Forestians to learn more about Cumi's ring. Jiro agrees to this since he is a bum who doesn't have anything else to do, and Maya comments that they will have to cross the ocean to get to the Forestians. The ship comes across an old fighter named Zen who used to train Marin whenever he would visit their village. Zen warns the group that they are heading towards the area of Mountaineers who may not let them cross, and he suggests to write a letter to the Mountaineers since he is familiar with the group. He writes down the letter while the others tell him about how Jiro saved the village from the beast. He then advises Marin to listen to Jiro, and after giving them the letter he goes on his way. The group heads to the Mountaineers and Jiro tells the others that he is not going to leave the ship because of an incident. In the past, Jiro fights with the Mountaineers and beats the crap out of their supervisor. The group reaches the area of the Mountaineers and Maya hands over the letter of recommendation to the Mountaineers' chapeau. The Mountaineer supervisor reads the names of all the group members, and when he reads out Jiro, all the Mountaineers start shouting Jiro's name like a bunch of groupies. Jiro realizes that he cannot stay hidden, so he comes out of the ship, and the Mountaineer supervisor asks him whether he is really the Jiro that he fought with in the past. Jiro also recalls the past with him, and the Mountaineers allow him to stay in their area due to Zen's letter, but Jiro still warns Maya that they should be ready to flee at any time. General Tsurugi meets up with Lord Bakla at the palace, and she again emphasizes to him that a lot of dangerous beasts have been attacking recently, due to which their army has thinned out and they should stop focusing on attacking the outsiders. Bakla pretends to listen to her, and he also downs a drink that has a suspicious candy mixed within it. He tells Tsurugi that he has faith in her words, but when Tsurugi leaves, she tells her subordinate that Bakla has probably already made his move, but he doesn't want to provoke her, and that she hopes Zen will pull through. The Mountaineers arrange a fighting competition for Jiro as a welcome party, and they tell him to fight one of their ugly-looking fighters, Jin. Jiro decides to play along with their games, and he takes on Jin, who rushes at him. Jiro easily tackles him and throws him out of the arena. Jiro continues to take on another fighter, while Romana explains to Cumi that Zen had commented earlier that Cumi has a wandering name, which means that it's a silly name given by her parents to divert any attention from her. Jiro takes on a bunch of Mountaineers, and soon they start to gang up on him since they cannot even defeat a skinny little monkey. Their supervisor Babin stops them and steps in the arena himself to fight Jiro. He and Jiro both fight with each other, and Babin somehow manages to topple him down, after which they become allies, and the whole bunch of ugly Mountaineers cheer for them. Afterwards, they eat a feast with Babin, and Babin explains his science to Jiro that even if he has killed his Mountaineer friends in the past, the Mountaineers don't have a grudge against him because they believe harboring revenge for someone is useless. Some Mountaineer females surround Jiro, and Babin even offers him to choose any girl that he likes. He asks him whether he already has a mate, and he points towards his group members one by one. Jiro explains that his group members are his travel companions only, and Babin urges him to sleep with a Mountaineer girl for fun. A Mountaineer woman scolds Babin for thinking like a pervert, and she also drags the girls away. Suddenly a beast approaches the Mountaineer lair, and as per their custom they let the beast inside their gate. They even start to beat their drums loudly, and Marin steps inside the arena to challenge the beast. He dodges all of its attacks, but when he strikes the beast, he breaks his sword. Before the beast can attack him, Jin steps inside and attacks the beast instead. Marin runs away, and Jin starts beating the beast left and right. Suddenly the beast's eye turns red and he smacks Jin away easily. Babin and Jiro both jump into action, and they both merge with their clerics to turn into paladins. Babin blocks the beast, but the beast easily slaps him into the ground. Jiro then attacks the beast while Babin hits the arena to break it. The beast falls down, and Jiro and Babin both finish the beast off. Afterwards, Jin gets a new title because of his bravery, while Cumi tells her group that she doesn't want a new title yet. Outside the town, Zen takes on a suspicious-looking pair of fighters. The sus fighter and his cleric ask Zen who he is, and both parties begin to fight with each other. The cleric mentions that she can easily kill Zen, so she unleashes her power, but her fighter stops her. Zen believes that his opponents are actually Mizami's minions, and the fighter then takes on Zen himself as they both go toe-on-toe with each other. Zen even manages to best him by slicing through his torso at one point, but it turns out to be an illusion only, and the original fighter comments that Zen's fighting is making him yawn. Zen then slices the mountain above the fighter, which causes a bunch of rocks to fall on him, and when the fighter recovers, he discovers that Zen has already run away. Mizami reports to Bakla that Zen has been snooping into their business, so Bakla explains to him that he and General Tsurugi are playing a game in which Tsurugi plans to expose his plans. Bakla also plays with giant beasts who look like animals, and he tells Mizami that he has tamed the animals. He doesn't think that Tsurugi can figure out his plans, and he tells Mizami to let their minions chase each other while his plans will proceed as always. Before Mizami leaves, he also points out to him that weak people should always know their place. At the Mountaineer village, Jiro wakes up early to train himself, and Marin also joins him. He tells Marin that he is bearing a spear while Marin should train his swordsmanship, so they both cannot train together, but Marin doesn't listen to him and he still keeps swinging his sword uselessly. Finally, Jiro gets bored of his useless swinging, and he gives Marin some tips on how to hold his sword and how to swing it with power. They both train for a while, and when the others wake up, Marin tells them about how Jiro has been training him. Later they all have breakfast with Babin where Cumi and Marin eat like they have been starved their whole lives. Babin's wife asks them to share stories about their travels, and later Babin also asks them whether they have come across many red-eyed beasts. Babin's wife shares that red eyes are a curse which has been put on the field folk, and that the beasts have a leader in the north who enraged the god of beasts, due to which the curse has been put on them. She reveals that it's just a story that she has heard from her ancestors, and afterwards Cumi tells her gang that she thinks the red-eyed beasts are appearing because of her powers. Even Jiro thinks that this might be true, and he recalls how Cumi lost control of her powers at the port and released a black mist. Jiro assures her that there must be another reason behind the appearance of the red-eyed beasts, and they all decide to become Sherlock Holmes to try and find the reason behind the red-eyed beasts' appearances. They discuss their issue with Babin too, who suggests them to go to the East Fortress where it may be easy to spot the wild beasts, and that they may get some kind of clue. Babin also puts something on Jiro's ship on his wife's requests, which makes the ship fly smoothly through the mountains, and when the gang heads out to the fortress, Jiro thinks that they might find something at the fortress, and when they reach the fortress they discover that a giant beast has already attacked the Mountaineers in the forest. Maya gives Marin a brand new sword and he rushes out to help the Mountaineers, while Jiro tells Cumi that they will head to the summit instead. Marin dodges all the attacks of the beast and he manages to land an attack as well, which puts the best down. Suddenly, a red eye appears on the beast which gives him immense power, and he starts ruthlessly attacking. Marin abandons all hope and runs inside the fortress, which the Mountaineers close shut to block the beast out. Babin also arrives with his forces at the fortress, and when he sees that the fortress is under attack, he gets all pumped up to fight. Jiro and Cumi across the suspicious pair of fighters at the top of the mountain, and Jiro recognizes the fighter as a guy named Facade who used to be his teammate back in the day. He asks Facade whether he is responsible for creating red-eyed beasts, but Facade doesn't recognize Jiro and instead attacks his bestie. They both fight with each other and Jiro keeps asking him why he is doing this, but Facade doesn't respond. Finally, Jiro merges with Cumi again and they both attack each other. Babin gets rid of the beast and notices the ongoing fight on the summit. Marin asks him to take him to Jiro as well, and they all head in Jiro's direction. Meanwhile, Facade attacks Jiro mercilessly even without his cleric, and when Jiro makes him fly back, Facade's cleric steps towards him. The cleric looks exactly like Cumi and she launches an attack of miasma that makes Jiro feel powerless. Jiro starts losing his strength and Cumi also emerges from him. Cumi tells the cleric that they are both like each other, while the cleric calls Cumi a failed product. The cleric starts to lose control of her powers and Cumi warns her that she will die if she doesn't control herself. The cleric doesn't care if she dies, and just when she is about to unleash hell, Babin attacks her. Babin's wife comments that Facade and her cleric have the smell of north on them, and Babin tells Jiro to run away. Mia arrives suddenly on the ship and Jiro and Cumi escape on the ship. Meanwhile, Facade and his cleric beat all of the Mountaineers, including Babin, while Jiro wonders what happened to Facade. A group of old disgusting-looking hags discuss that they should offer the Ring of Promise to the god of Ars to please him. Romana and Melon discuss whether Facade's cleric is actually Cumi's twin, and that Jiro has been acting weird since the last fight. Suddenly lightning strikes at the ship, due to which the ship breaks down and falls to the ground. Zen reports to Tsurugi that Mizami has released 2 prototypes, which makes her think that it's going to be troublesome to take down Mizami. She tells her assistant Chart to book an audience with the Emperor as soon as possible. Jiro and the gang wonder how they should deal with the broken ship, and Jiro recognizes the area, so he warns the others to look out for any beast. Maya and Marin fix the shop the next day, while Romana notices that Cumi looks pretty upset due to her last encounter with the cleric. After fixing the ship they head out again, and Maya informs everyone that they are soon going to enter the area of Hornarians. Jiro starts to act weird after hearing this, so everyone else thinks that Jiro must have fought with the Hornarians before. Jiro refuses to spill any tea, so Romana assumes that Jiro must have some girlfriend among the Hornarians who he doesn't want to talk about. They reach the Hornarians, where Jiro steps out to meet an old man and he apologizes to him for not coming to him sooner. The old man turns out to be Jiro's dad to everyone's surprise, and Jiro's dog Tsuyukusa barks at Cumi threateningly. Afterwards they all sit with Jiro's dad Goza, and he gives a water bowl to Jiro which has some petals in it. Jiro recalls a memory from his past and he drinks from the bowl like he was taught to. He also tells the others to follow the proper etiquette, and after everyone has drank from the bowl, Goza tells them that they all share a common bond now. Jiro leaves the gang to rest, while Goza asks Cumi whether she is married to Jiro since she is his cleric. Cumi tells her about how she came to know Jiro, and Goza spills tea to everyone that he is actually Jiro's father-in-law, since Jiro was married to his daughter Toka, who was his previous cleric, and that he probably couldn't come before due to bereavement curse. He explains that bereavement curse falls on a paladin when the paladin loses its memories after the death of his cleric, and he tells Cumi to go to Jiro, who has probably gone to visit Toka's grave. Jiro meanwhile visits Toka's grave, and he recalls the first time he met Toka. In the past, Jiro fights with a bear-like beast who almost knocks him down, but out of nowhere someone throws a knife at the beast. Jiro then defeats the beast and meets up with Toka, who has actually thrown the knife. Toka shows him her drawings of different beasts, and even advises him on how to use her spear properly. Jiro then asks her to travel with him so that they can both take down beasts together. She agrees, and she even puts down a condition that none of them should die during their traveling. In the present, Cumi joins Jiro to pay respect to Toka, and in the meanwhile, Tsurugi meets up with the Emperor. She tells the Emperor that Bakla has been ordering his subordinates to kill the Mountaineers, and that his minion Mizami is going berserk. The Emperor tells everyone else to go away, and when they are left alone, he freezes her somehow with some power. He tells her to forget about Bakla and that she should find the promised ring, which is worn by someone who is traveling with her old friend. In the past, Jiro and Toka take leave from the Hornarians, and as they travel together more and more, Jiro becomes a paladin and finally forms a contract with Toka. Soon he proposes to marry her, and she tells him to properly ask her hand. He calls her horns beautiful, and she agrees to marry him. Soon the Empire starts sending them on various battlefields that they don't want to be a part of, and one time they get sent to a mission with Facade and Tsurugi. The others don't talk much while Tsurugi yaps about how she wants to go risky missions to quickly get promoted so that she can gain more power and end war in future. She keeps yapping about useless stuff, and one of the commanders tells her that Bakla has called her back to the headquarters, so she cannot go with them. She returns to the headquarters while the others carry on with their mission. Soon the group comes face to face with gigantic beasts that they have never seen in their life, and one of the beasts even talks with the other beasts. The beasts kill all the soldiers easily, and Toka realizes that they cannot escape. She tells Jiro to live his life to the fullest, and she rushes to the beasts, where she releases enormous powers which defeats the beasts. She collapses on the ground and more beasts show up on the site, but he doesn't leave Toka's side. In the present, Cumi tells Jiro that she wants to save the other cleric, and he promises to help her. The others also feel bad about thinking Jiro had a girlfriend, and suddenly giant beasts start to approach the Hornarians' area. Facade and his cleric lead a giant beast's army towards the Hornarians, while Mizami tells his soldiers to dispose of Facade in case he regains his memory after meeting with Jiro. A number of clerics who look like Cumi appear, and he tells the guard that they each need to be dispatched to their area. Meanwhile, Goza and the Hornarians prepare to fight against the horde of giant beasts, while Jiro and Cumi head to Facade and the cleric. The cleric mocks Cumi for being a failed product, but in return Cumi apologizes to her for running away alone and says that she has come to rescue her. 7 years in the past, the 11th prototype is finished, and the researchers check her condition before declaring that the experiment was a success. Nizami gives a celebratory speech to all the researchers in which he talks about how humans were once the rulers of ours but had everything stolen by the giant beasts and the insects. He declares that they will steal everything back now, and all the researchers raise a glass with him. Soon the prototype number reaches 18, and they begin experimenting on her as she constantly chants about death while tied to a chair. Black smoke begins rising from her as she chants, but she starts malfunctioning before exploding. Bakla's subordinate, who came to oversee the experiment, tells Mizami that he will tell Bakla about the failure, but Mizami reveals that they have other things to show him. He takes him to see an unconscious Facade and reveals that they've created a paladin that does not require a cleric. He asks the subordinate to write a favorable report to Bakla, but the subordinate shuts him up by replying that he only reports the truth. Another researcher named Zeke incinerates the body of Prototype 18 while questioning his own actions. After a while, Cumi finally gets created, and soon she also gets tied to the chair while Mizami tells her not to be scared as she has nothing to lose. He tells her to chant about death as he injects her with a serum, and Zeke has a hard time watching it. After it ends, he puts Cumi back in her cell and tells her to hang on a little longer. During the next experiment, Cumi finds herself placed against Prototype 23, and the researchers tell them to kill each other. Prototype 23 rushes to stab Cumi, who only tries to defend herself, and she begins chanting, which erodes the other prototype, so she steps back. They both continue to chant as black smoke rises from them, and Nozomi notices how the readings are off the chart, which makes him realize that the prototypes just need to experience strong emotions to fully bring out their powers. 23 stabs Cumi's heart, but Cumi starts glowing and knocks 23 away. Nozomi decides that it's too dangerous to continue to experiment in the current facility, so he orders his subordinates to knock Cumi out by shocking her. She wakes up and Zeke tries to escape with her as she chants on his back, but he tells her to run for the light because death is the end of everything. They are caught by Nozomi, who takes her away, and Zeke is killed in front of her eyes. She gets sent to the cell again, where she thinks about everything that has happened, and she decides that she needs to escape. In the present, Cumi tries to explain that they would have made her do many terrible things, that's why she ran away, and that death is not right, but this angers the cleric, so she attacks her. They dodge her attack, and Jiro tells Cumi that they need to defeat Facade first if they want to save the cleric. Epic transformation scene begins, and they turn into an epic Power Ranger. After merging, Cumi tells Jiro that Facade is giving off the scent of a giant beast, and Facade starts attacking Jiro. On the other side, Bakla is summoned by the Emperor, who says that Bakla just thinks of him as an unreliable emperor. Bakla tries to butter him up, but it doesn't work, and he questions what Bakla has been up to these days. Bakla claims that he will drive the barbarians away by using a paladin that does not require a cleric, and also reveals that the paladin has already been dispatched to visit each region one by one. He further explains that they can get tribute from the barbarians after sparing them, which will show everyone how wise and daring the Emperor is. He reminds him that the barbarians might unite together if the paladin is revealed to be theirs, but Bakla assures him that nothing like that will happen. Back at the Hornarians' land, Goza and the rest finish up the giant beasts when Zen also arrives, and they greet each other before looking towards the place where Jiro is fighting against Facade. The cleric suddenly interrupts their fight, and Cumi asks Jiro to let her lure the cleric away from the village before trying to talk to her. Jiro is against it, but Cumi insists that she can convince the cleric to stand down, and he only needs to hold Facade back until she talks to her. Jiro decides to follow her plan, so he calls Tsuyakusa, who takes Cumi away, and the cleric follows after her. Zen and the others arrive nearby on a ship and notice that Jiro is fighting Facade alone, which makes them realize that Cumi must have lured the cleric away. Zen tells Maya to go find Cumi after dropping him off near Jiro, and Cumi brings the cleric to a flower field. She walks towards the cleric but gets attacked, which doesn't harm her, so she continues moving towards her. She doesn't stop despite the relentless attacks from the cleric, and she suddenly hugs her, which shows the cleric all of Cumi's memories. Jiro continues to fight against Facade, who uses his illusion, but Jiro predicts it, and Zen also puts his sword on Facade. The cleric falls down on her knees with tears in her eyes after seeing what the outside world looks like, and the others also arrive. Cumi runs towards them, and the cleric tries to go towards them but is stopped due to a mental barrier, in which Nozomi does his usual yapping. She starts glowing, and Cumi tells the others to run away while she herself runs to the cleric to calm her down. She tries to calm her down, but the cleric explodes and Facade escapes on the other side after remarking that all the keys are in place. Cumi's ring suddenly expands and surrounds the explosion with a cage that contracts to stop the explosion. The cleric tells Cumi that they're not the same and passes away after telling Cumi to continue living. Cumi has a dream in which all the clerics blame her for leaving them and abandoning them, while Jiro takes care of her while she is passed out. Cumi wakes up to find Romana tending to her, and Romana gives her a bitter potion to drink to heal her. Romana tells her that Jiro has been taking care of her non-stop, due to which he is sleeping now, and when Cumi starts asking about everyone else, Romana assures her that everyone else is fine. Cumi tells Romana not to blame Jiro, and she then goes back to sleep. Romana recalls how 3 years ago she was treating war soldiers in a war zone, and how each day soldiers kept dying around her. One time a soldier walks in with a cleric and tells her to give medicine to him, but when she argues with him to treat the cleric first, he tells her that he can find more clerics anytime. She still tries to stop the cleric from leaving with the soldier, but the soldier smacks her down, and the cleric also walks away with him. Later, when Romana walks outside, she sees fallen soldiers everywhere, and she runs up to the body of the fallen cleric. She wonders where her paladin fighter is, but just then she notices that the cleric is actually dead. In the present, she thinks about the bond between Jiro and Cumi, and she decides to have a little faith in Jiro. Marin and Tsuyakusa run to Cumi's side when they learn that she has woken up, and even Jiro wakes up. He gives her some sick people food to satisfy her hunger while she keeps looking at the fried meat the rest of her friends are eating. After they have eaten, Jiro thinks it's better that Cumi should explain what she faced in the laboratory, so Cumi spills all the juicy details about her past. According to her, she woke up in a water tank for the first time, after which she was asked to kill other prototypes again and again, and she was forced to take drugs day after day. Jiro explains to everyone that the government is experimenting on cleric weaponization, in which they plan to make clerics that don't fear death and can act as suicide bombers anytime, like a weapon of destruction. Cumi tells everyone that she escaped when she was shifted to the port prison, and that she wanted the other girls to also experience the outside world, but in the end she couldn't even save Facade's cleric. Jiro advises her to have faith in herself since she did the right thing, and he announces to save Cumi's friends from the laboratory. Just then the Hornarians arrive at their door, and Goza tells them that they cannot allow Cumi to leave the village since she is too dangerous. All of Maya's friends have a round-table conference in which they discuss whether their plan has been discovered. Maya tells her friends that Hornarians are not letting Cumi leave, and they discuss that Cumi's group needs to reach Securion village next. Two of the Maya creatures switch places, and they tell the cat Maya to buy herbs which Romana sent her to buy originally. Jiro and the gang get put into a dingy prison while Mizami gets the latest update about Cumi, and he realizes that his failed product has turned out to be useful after all. Romana breaks out of the prison, and just when they are all escaping, Goza appears and warns them that such a weapon of war cannot exist. The group prepares to face him, but Zen also appears out of thin air and warns both parties that he cannot allow any war to break out. He tells them that he plans to remove the concept of weaponized clerics from scratch, and that he will kill all villagers and Jiro's group to stop any news from leaking. Cumi starts to emit black mist in panic, and Jiro tells her to calm down since those magical words always work on women. Romana steps in between Zen and Jiro, and she tells Zen that his plan won't work since their secret about the clerics will leak due to Maya, who is already outside the village. Zen realizes his mistake, and he gives up on killing everyone since he didn't want to be a bad guy in the first place. They all then sit down to discuss what they can do about the whole situation, and Jiro decides to ask the Hornarians to keep the clerics a secret. They decide that they should attack Mizami's lab, and that they should also inform the other tribes that they plan to hide the existence of weaponized clerics to stop information from spreading. Goza sends the message to other tribes through Tsuyukusa, and soon Jiro's group departs from the Hornarians to their next destination. Tsurugi arrives with her forces at Securion village, and they welcome her inside due to a pact between the village and the Empire. At Jiro's ship, Cumi thinks about how she isn't scared to face her past, while the others group together to give her a gift. Jiro tells her that she has taken a stand for all the other prototypes, and due to her courage and bravery her name should be changed from Cumi the 22nd to Cumi the Blooming Flower. Cumi begins to cry on hearing this, and she thanks everyone for their support. Backla's guard reports to him that a prototype has managed to topple a mountain, and they both discuss that Mizami is a sharp guy who needs to finish his research before they can discard him. Bakla also seems to think that he will have to make a move first before Mizami can make a move on him. A package from the laboratory gets delivered in the castle, and Bakla comments the delivery contains a pawn. Jiro's group reaches the underground laboratory where Cumi was originally kept, and Jiro announces the plan to knock out all the prototypes so that they can undo their brainwashing later once they have all escaped. Kiris and Goon, the world's two most useless people, watch the surroundings of the laboratory just when Jiro walks towards the lab in his paladin state. They ring the warning alarm, and Mizami realizes that Cumi, the number 22 prototype, is returning back to him. He decides to give one of the prototypes a drug to fill her with rage, but Facade steps in and he tells Mizami that he will deal with Jiro himself. Mizami agrees to his plan, but he thinks that it's also time to discard Facade. The guards face Jiro, who warns them that they can just when he tries to sneakily attack Jiro. Cumi warns him that Facade will attack him from the right side. He pathetically walks away from him. Mizami comes to receive him, and when he demands Mizami to return his memories, Mizami's eye turns red just like a beast. He chokes Facade and throws him to the ground where he passes out. Mizami then tells his minions to throw him away, and he walks away. Jiro's gang bursts into the room where the prototypes used to be kept, but they don't find anyone there. Mizami yaps about how he doesn't need the other prototypes since Cumi is his masterpiece, and that he wants Cumi to become his partner. He then decides to share the true history of ours with them. Meanwhile, the lab starts shaking just as Marin is taking out the prototypes one by one. Mizami goes all psycho mode as he explains that into becoming gods, but they have forgotten about their value with time, and that he wants to erase the other inferior species through war so that humans can regain their status. He wants Cumi to erase all the species with him, and after he is done with his yapping, he reveals that he is not only a powerless scientist, but he has all the powers within him. He grows a third red and turns into an ugly humanoid monster. Jiro also merges with Cumi and they both Jiro's attacks, and he even stops Jiro's spear with his hand, condition that he will spare Jiro's life. He makes fun of her new name as well, so Cumi, due to which the beast takes Mizami and eats him whole. Cumi then falls unconscious and Jiro escapes with her as the laboratory starts to fall around them. He manages to get her outside and suddenly Imperial ships approach them. Tsurugi steps outside along with some people from Securion village, and she and Jiro greet each other since they know one another from the past. The chief of the Securions named Clunes also greets Jiro, and Jiro informs everyone about Mizami's death and retrieval of all the prototypes. Clunes proposes to perform a ritual on all prototypes including Cumi, which will suppress their powers and stop any war from breaking out. Tsurugi explains that Jiro's gang will all be declared dead to stop any news from spreading, and they all agree. Suddenly blood starts to come out of Cumi and they all rush to her side to help her. Clunes treats Cumi with his people's medicine while Tsurugi explains to Jis, and he whines about how Cumi is still a child who is just learning how to live. Jiro practices his spear skills on a tree because they don't seem to work on anything else, and notices Cumi watching him. She thanks him for everything he has done for her, and he tells her that he should be the one thanking her for freeing him from the curse. She asks him what he plans to do after everything is done, and he reveals that he plans to make Tsurugi pay him a hefty reward for his work, through which he will pay off his debt to Romana. She asks him what he is hiding from her and points out that her illness must be really bad, but he tells her that she is still recovering. She reveals that Marin has already told her everything and asks Jiro to fill her in on the details. He tells her everything, but she takes it calmly and says that she enjoyed a lot of things thanks to him. They reach the Securion village where they meet Cao Maya and a Clunes, who tells them that the last visitor they had was 200 years ago. They follow him up a tower and the villagers run away after Cumi waves at them. He tells them that they've never seen an outsider, that's why they are so wary, and reveals that they are not attacked by giant beasts. He leads them to their room where Romana notices that Cumi is not wearing her ring, so she asks her about it, and Cumi reveals that Tsurugi borrowed it for some time. Tsurugi brings the ring to Clunes for inspection, who assures her that it's the Ring of Promise. She tells him that the ring saved Cumi's life multiple times, and they realize that the Day of Judgment must be nearing. That is why the Empire is also moving weirdly. The group notices that a festival is being held in the Securion village, and Marin leaves to watch, so Cumi tries to go too, but Jiro tells her to rest first. Romana checks her condition and says that she is stable enough to go, so Jiro decides to go with her too. While watching the festival, Romana asks him what he is thinking so deeply about, and he wonders why Cumi is not afraid of death. Romana tells him that everything is new for her and 1 year must feel like 10 for her. Cumi runs to Jiro all excited but almost collapses in his arms, so he takes her to rest and lectures him a bit for going overboard. She wakes up after a while and Romana tells her that Clunes wanted to talk to her about the ritual. They wonder where Jiro and Maya went to. Marin leaves to look for Maya, and the girls go to Clunes, who shows them a map marked with all the places where the red-eyed beasts appeared. He takes them underground into a special room, and Cumi notices the pods she was kept in before. He tells her that the Empire stole these pods from them and that they use these pods to reproduce. He says that he was also born in a pod and sees Cumi as one of their kind, which makes Cumi happy that someone thinks of her as family. Back on Jiro's side, Tsurugi hands him a communication device in preparation for the judgment. Later, everyone gathers for the ritual and Cumi enters the room like a bride, where Clunes announces the blessing ritual to begin. A ball lights up in front of them and he tells Cumi not to take her hand off the ball once she places her hand on it because the process cannot be repeated. She puts her hand on it and starts groaning in pain. While outside, the Securion village is attacked by multiple red-eyed beasts. Jiro runs off to fight them and Cumi notices the commotion, but Clunes tells her not to let go no matter what happens. She almost lets go to fight against the giant beasts, but Romana holds her hand and tells her to finish the ritual for their sake. Cumi objects that she will be left alone if they all die, so it doesn't matter anyway, and she takes her hand off of the ball before running after Jiro. Maya and her friends gather and they talk about how the Day of Judgment has arrived, so they need to prepare for their master to awaken. The beasts hit Jiro away, but Cumi also appears, so he hides with her before questioning what happened with the ritual. She tells him that she stopped midway and can still help him fight, but he gets angry. He tries to walk away to fight the giant beasts, and Cumi yells at him for talking all tough even though he gets beaten up by the giant beasts, which is the best thing she has said in this whole anime. They start arguing and she says that she just wants to stay with them, but a giant monster tries to attack them, which get killed by Facade. He goes berserk and tries to attack them too, so they merge to fight against him and the giant beasts. The giant beasts also attack the Mountaineers, who try to fight against them along with Babin, who successfully takes down a red-eyed beast. Deagle suggests that they should retreat, but Babin declares that they will fight till death against the beasts. At the Securion village, Marin tries to find Maya, but ends up meeting old Cumi, and Marin mentions that they have a friend with the same name, but old Cumi notices that Cumi must not be fine by the way Marin speaks of her. Clunes and Tsurugi watch the whole battlefield through the control room, and she comments that an attack of this scale doesn't seem fitting for the Day of Judgment. They notice a huge number of giant beasts approaching, and above ground, a giant monster continues to deploy several small monsters at a time. Tsurugi watches the royal capital, which is under attack too, and Clunes reveals that the giant beast has only appeared at their place. They decide that they need to take out the giant beast first to stop more beasts from appearing, and on Jiro's side, he continues to fight against Facade. Tsurugi tells him about the giant beast through the communication device, but he has his hands full with Facade, whose only thought is to kill Mizami now. He notices Jiro killing a monster and assumes that he must also be Mizami's pawn because he is using a prototype's power. He yells at them to return his memories and knocks them down, but Zen appears to save them at the critical moment. Cumi wakes up to old Cumi, who wakes Jiro up too and hands them a candy to eat. She blasts away a giant beast that attacks them, and they're shocked that she is also a cleric, but she tells them to go fight the big guy while she and Zen deal with things here. They fly away, but old Cumi collapses as soon as they leave. The beasts continue to attack the capital too, as Backler reads a tablet about the Day of Judgment that was kept secret by the royal family, and its content surprises him. He talks about how the mother beast that is spawning giant beasts must be killed first for the remaining things to happen, and wonders how Tsurugi will perform on the battlefield this time. Romana helps the injured along with other medics and goes from one patient to another while being shocked by the medical technology of the Securions. Another Securion tells her that she should get some rest, but she objects that she cannot rest while her friends are fighting outside and will not make a single patient wait. Marin rescues a few Securion kids while looking for Maya, and sends them to the hideout before rushing out again to look for her, which is the only thing he is useful for at this point. Zen continues to battle against Facade, however. Their blades break, but they still manage to stab each other. Zen blasts him down a cliff after putting a blade shard into his chest and falls down on the ground afterwards. Marin reaches the control room, which also gets attacked, and Tsurugi hands him the Ring of Promise so he can give it to Cumi as soon as possible. She merges with her cleric and kills giant beasts one after another, while all the other parts of the world also face similar situations. The Hornarians try to fend off against a horde of giant beasts, and the Mountaineers also continue to fight. Jiro almost reaches the big guy, but notices that Cumi is also running out of stamina, and Marin finally meets Maya, who arrives on a ship. They head towards Jiro while Jiro attacks the eye of the big guy using the last of his powers, but multiple eyes appear after he destroys one. He falls down and Cumi steps forward to bomb the giant, but Jiro stops her. They're about to get killed by a giant beast when Maya and Melon hit it away using the ship, and Maya teleports them to an unknown space. She explains to them that they cannot take the giant down with just the paladin powers and need to use the hidden powers inside the Ring of Promise, which requires a legitimate master to wield it, meaning Cumi. She tells Cumi to focus her feelings on the ring, and Cumi prays to the ring, which activates it along with lighting up the surroundings. Cumi and Jiro merge together once again, but this time Cumi takes control instead, and she kills all the giant beasts in the surroundings instantly using her new powers. The big guy attacks her but fails to break past her barrier, and she charges up to land a big blow on him. She has a hard time holding on but manages to blow the giant away, which also kills all the red-eyed beasts in ours. Jiro finally separates from her, and the battle finally comes to an end as Marin gets shocked by Maya's new appearance. All the tribes celebrate their survival, but suddenly a large metal block appears in the sky and Clune's map lights up as he declares the arrival of the final moment. That's it for today, my fellow men of culture. Like and subscribe the channel for more plot-filled recaps.